The topic of today's program, today's seminar is the journey of the poet from Michael to Madhusudhon, a Renaissance metamorphosis. The chairperson of today's seminar is Professor Sharifatikuzzaman, Principal, Govt Brajalal College. We are honored to have Dr. Chidananda Bhattacharya, Professor, Rabindra Bharati University, Department of English, Kolkata, West Bengal, India. We are really honored to have him. Today's chief discussant, Dr. Chidananda Bhattacharya. Sir, please, I request you to come to the microphone and enrich us with your scholarly discussion. Please, sir.
Hello and a very good morning to all of you. Namaskar, Salam Alaikum, and it will do. I don't have to. I don't like barking down the microphone that way. No? If I'm audible, that will do. My true regards to Professor Atikuzzaman Saheb for having me here at all, and my regards to Professor Tahudir Rahman, who's Professor and Head Department of English, Mr. Vice Principal Sir, Shomir Babu, and all my kind of very loving compeers here, maybe from colleges across Bangladesh. I have come from the neighboring space, which by an irony of luck is now Videsh, and I came here with very unspeakable mixture of emotions, because my relations are, many of them are here, all across Bangladesh. I was speaking to Principal Sir and others as well. I shall not be taking away much time from your purse, though I know that time is very precious. Plus, my initiative has been kidnapped, ambushed, stolen, boggled by this young man who has already introduced you to the knickknacks of Michael Madhusudhon's maneuvering himself in and out of the parlor of poetry, nicking into the English corridors and then getting frustrated, and then whooshing back to the mother language, etc. And when I was at all pressed by your head of the institution for a title, I was really very nonplussed as to how to kind of niche my argument. So I had to brainwire a kind of a topic, and I was fighting my way through my worldwide ignorance about Madhusudhon, because as a Bengali, I have had him here. But it was a wooing by heart and not a kind of a pursuing by the brains, because my laboratory is a sisterly discipline, which is English literature, where I have had a kind of handshaking acquaintance with Madhusudhon's some of his opuses and writings, because of it being Indian English writing. But during my salad days, my halcyon days at school, and at college, I had lisped some of the very rousing lines of Michael. So faced with this dichotomous suggestion of bracing up together a person who is an ambidexter, whose right hand and left hand go together, writes in English, writes in Bangla, and speaks, my goodness, 14 different tongues. He's a multi-axial, multi-access kind of a pandit of language, which is a genius. Apart from Michael, very few other Bengali scions and daughters would be boasting of such an excellence, except perhaps Horinath De, who died in the beginning of 20th century. He was a kind of a genius. By a millennium, he knew 34 languages. And I had the good luck to wade through one of his books on romantic poetry, which was my father's copy, because my father is the predecessor on the road leading to English literature. He was an MA PRS. He stood first both in MA and BA and MA from Presidency College and Kolkata. This is what I am paying back to my father. Are you listening, my dad? I am here because of you. Thank you. And he was a Premchand Raichand Scholar of Kolkata University, the first chosen thesis among the entire arts faculty, all the subjects. The most brilliant paper would be adjudged that PRS. So I am the donkey of my dad, a dud of my dad. Anyway, but you have to make things do, because you are living in an adult world, my dear, where you have to shell out the little that Mother Nature may have given you, and you have to steal, burgle, sometimes filch, F-Y-L-C-H or F-I-L-C-H, filch some of the products that Mother Nature doesn't want to give. I am filching still from my wife, who is a singer. Now, why Madhusudhon? Because of Michael. I will be dialogizing. Sriman has already given you the kind of the extrinsics of the data and the statistics. I'm very poor, very wobbly at statistics. I sometimes would forget my own name even if I'm really very hypnotized, or I'm hypochondriac sometimes out of nervousness. Am I the person I think of myself as? Maybe. So there's a big, huge identity crisis. After 42 years of teaching and cheating together, the both that go together. Anyway, Madhusudhon is a, in terms of linguistics, if a word happens only once and you don't come across that expression anywhere else, it is perhaps, as I recall, is called a hapax. H-A-P-A-H. Madhusudhon is the literary equivalent to that term called hapax. Because he is a pressure cooker, for want of a better expression. I am becoming very pedestrian. Please forgive me for not being enough scholastic. He is a pressure cooker who was compacted, pressed, and shoved off in a corner during the colonial times, where to be born a brown man as bad as a black man in the colonial space, reviewed over, stunted down by the white men. And you know that infamous white man's self-hortatory, self-congratulatory, fantasized kind of a term, the white man's burden. Entire world is Europe's burden. Europe will have to civilize them. How to civilize them? First steal their materials, loot and plunder, and Bangladesh was inundated by Hollanders, meaning Hollanders, and then Portuguese, and then Dinemars, very sweet. Diner belai jara mare, meaning Denmark. Denmark. And then who not? And those, parlez-vous français, the French people, they are also all around. And latest, they are late in taking up everything. My dear, Renaissance came to Europe by 1350. The Pakka granite English people took to them 1450. And then started singing and dancing about this. It is our Renaissance, our Renaissance. The French people don't pronounce it as Renaissance, they pronounce it as Renaissance. That's very peculiar anyway. So the English people always, they go gaga on every new invention which somebody else has invented. The Renaissance, invented by Martin Luther, my dear, and Erasmus, my dear, and the French people, my dear, but they get hold of it. So they circumnavigate the entire world, and they outdo, outspeed, outvote all other, their cousins, racial cousins. 190 years of very solid hold, 1757, and then 1857, Queen Victoria took India directly under her territory. Before that, East India Company was doing it vicariously for the English people. So it is the commerce and the very chic pretense of doing good to you. We shall be doing business with you. They come, and the policy is forfeited to come, wherever they come with their bandwagon of their ideas and their books and their Christianity and their whole lore of, my dear, we are the best of the world, the chosen seeds. As the Israelites call themselves, they also call themselves chosen seeds. This pressure was feeling very hard. Rajnarayan Datta was opening up towards the English education, English ethos and ambience, English environment. In fact, who was not? William Carey was doing good things, but it was actually nurturing and fostering English kind of hegemony. You all know. And then the Srirampur Christian Missionary College, through the baptism, was practicing hypnotism. You see? And if you know English, you get jobs. And it's a long, intertwined, very fraught kind of an affair. It was actually a double battle. One against the Sanskrit-bound, indigenous, Hindu Sanatani kind of majority pressure, and the Persian-bound, Nawab-bound, the written, the court-bound pressure. All these are being fought by the Britishers. Rajnarayan Datta had fervor for law. So he was a very, very good wizard of Persian language. But he was also very good at English. Why do I say so? Because behind my telling, this is the seedling. I was speaking to Professor Atikur and he was telling me that Akannaborti Paribar is disintegrating. Akannaborti Paribar, India was an Akannaborti Paribar in sociological terms, cultural terms. We stood, sat, ate, lived together. Everything was coming into the pan and getting synthesized. But the English people were felt as extraneous. They didn't commingle with the existing Indian sociological pattern. They were sticking out. And that's why it is a kind of a danger posed for the Indian cultural matrix. it is a very conscious, historically very aware, that way a little more advanced, very culturally, very selfishly well trained, ideologically very well made kind of a civilizational push against the Oriental Indian, a little happy-go-lucky, reaching out to people sort of attitude of the Indian people, easily trusting, agreeing to remain together and inviting people in together, whether Hindus or the Muslims. This has been the cultural ethos. So, no clash in understanding. You know, the riots were made by the bidding of the British people. They were egging the people. General masses never did it. In fact, general masses very often went across their communal boundaries to help, etc. These are the stories. These are the micro stories, the petty receipts, the grand narrative. Yes, the Hindus and the Muslims parted, division became. Why did it become so? Go down to the annals, go down to the individual stories. There you will find who has been leveraging, who have been leveraging, how things are being really partnered, co-partnered by the top leaders, the top echelons of leaders who are saying, I am a happy black Niger, oh my British Lord, I am dancing before you. That was the African story, reenacting in India also. This is the story of the master-slave dialogy. In the title, Michael to Madhusudhon, this latent dialogy I have tried to patentize. The evolution of a colonized being, a pantomimic, imitating, I am a happy, I'm not using that damn word, damn Niger, singing before you, dancing to please you, master. This is not the kind of original Indian practice, but under the colonized rule, Macaulay's Minutes, please remember, all of you will remember how Lord Bentinck in the 30s of the 19th century was advised by Macaulay to let the indigenous systems of education go bust. Anglicized education with Western curricula of learning in the Western mode was introduced. Who sent Michael to Kolkata school? Who came over from Sagodnari to Kolkata Khidirpur and put his child in the best school? Rajnarayan Dutt. Who taught Michael Madhusudhon English and other books? Mata Jannavi. You see, is it not a reenactment of our old post-colonial, neo-colonial way of doing things? Don't we send our children to the best English medium schools if we are upper class, stiff upper lip, upper class? It is for the lower people to become, Hindus, Muslims, Jains, Christians. We are global citizens, bathing in the luxury of knowledge. Which knowledge? Western knowledge. What is the cultural metropolis? The West. I am referring to definitely the modern, very well done researches into the very psychic functioning of this master-slave tension. Everywhere, the master-slave tension has sprung beyond the legitimate gutters of the colonizer and colonized. It has got into, with the Marxist intervention, it has got into Rokto Korobi, for example, the industrialist king and the subject, into the women's studies, into the andro and the gyno or gyno. Gyno is Janana. Gyno criticism is gyno criticism. So, yes. So, gyni is originally Hebrew and Arabic, gyni, meaning Janana. So, that's an andro is definitely Greek andro, French andre, and Scandinavian German Anders, and English Andrew, etc. I don't know if it is cognate with Sanskritic Indra. Maybe one has to look up because Indra means master, masculine. So I don't know. It's open. Now Michael was soaking up English cultural praxis as what's your name, sir? As Harunur, my goodness. Thank you. I am meeting the Khalifa. So, so his caliphate has already kindly introduced you to the actual happenings, the sequence. So I should not be repeating the mathematical, arithmetical sequence. I should be going asymmetrically, trying to put on the to thumb press the points of emphasis. Presidency College, done at his father's bidding, opened the door to the neo-Derozaites, the young Bengal people. These are the times when similar-minded people were coming up, thanks to Macaulay's iron-handed feasting. You have to pick up English. If you do, then you get job. And what was Macaulay's real intent? Macaulay says, we the English people have been the light bearers, pusso for us. We are the torch bearers. Everything else, perhaps, of the English people will be destroyed with the passage of time. But one thing will never, it will stand the pressures of time. The education that we have given, the lights we have given to people. My dear, this is white man's burden, that their Western reason, their Western humanism, their Western enlightenment, the students of English literature will perhaps remember how enlightenment started off with the ticking off of Renaissance and the Reformation, and how it slowly had two axes. One is theistical, the other one was atheistical. The atheistical culminated in almost Hegel, Marx, and afterwards into the modern atheistical tradition, and the theistical through the Swedenborgian to other channels as well. So philosophical discourses have many branches. But enlightenment is spindled on reason. And what is reason? Reason has two faces. You go for example, the Comenian, Auguste Comte's kind of use of reason, or the Cartesian use of reason, Descartes, or you go for Immanuel Kant's theistical kind of approach to reason. But it's the same. You have to argufy, you have to prove through use of empirical illustration and factual bearing out and reasoning. This reason is murderous. This reason tells you that the atom bomb has to be blasted because that country is becoming more powerful than me. This is the negative, ontologically very destructive kind of culmination that man is capable of reaching. And this was definitely developing to arm up the master to become the master of the entire world. For example, in Africa, it was the priest who went down, Frank Basden, who went down and who wrote down the history, chronicled the history of the life of Lower Niger. And he pointed out how they needed education, how African native education needed to go, how Christianity, the light of Christianity, enlightenment, needs to come. There are so many other such torchbearers against which we find in a short time, of course, Harold Martin, for Aimé Césaire and Chinua Achebe and others in 1936 on the Pacific island Martinique. They sat down together and they were collectively trying to. Frantz Fanon came up and Frantz Fanon wrote, blackface or white mask or something like that. And the wretched of the earth. Black skin, white masks. Michael is black skin, white mask. Chinua Achebe wrote later in the 20th century. Creation Day and In the Name of Queen Victoria. These are the two epoch-breaking essays where he is anatomizing, vivisecting the British hypocritical practice and the Franco-Lusophonic, Francophonic and Anglophonic kind of India 1947 and Bangladesh 1971 that way. It has become twice liberated, but finally 1971. It has become post-colonial. But post-colonial is an external happening. Mentally, you have to be post-colonial, meaning you have to see through the trick and the deception, how you are being hoodwinked and taken for a ride by that happy-looking and looking like a god, so very wide, so kind, so knowledgeable. And you know, what is the name of that beautiful poet who was don't mind me, who raped his own half-sister and passed off the buck to Shelley, wherefore Shelley had to leave England. Shelley was not an angel, but in this case Shelley had no hand, no chances. But it was Lord George Gordon Noel Byron. So wonderful, looking like God himself, Jesus Christ himself. So angelic, is very much like the upper part an angel and the lower part a reptile. This is Satan, isn't it? White culture was practicing this Satanism. And Michael got into the vortex like Rajendra Lal Mitra, like Bhudev Mukherjee, like Rajnarayan Bosu, like Govt Chandra Bosak, all his classmates and associates. And he started piping that songs, I am a nigger out to please you, master. T.M. Aluko's famous saying, you know. T.M. Aluko, that Nigerian writer, stopped writing in English and started writing in Nigerian. And Achebe and Wole Soyinka wrote mainly in English to counter the Western ethics, paradigms, their priorities, and they were recouping and salvaging their native traditions. This is the middle line. You see, Frantz Fanon said, develop, a tiger has a tiger-like ontology. What is he calls tigritude. So a Negro should be having negritude. That is Fanon's famous saying. You develop your own cultural identity fiercely. And as he said, in morning yet on Creation Day, if your neighbors cry more than your mother for somebody who is dead in your house, then beware of those neighbors. We in Bengali say, Maer che Mashir Doros Beshi. This is what Chinua Achebe has said. This is what Sri Aurobindo has also said in a different wording in Foundations of Indian Culture, way back. Late 19th century or early, at the dawn of 20th century, decades before these Achebes and Wathiongos happened. Wathiongo is playing the cultural politics, vernacularizing of everything. Vernacularizing. I shall not write, speak English or French or my ex-master's language. Isn't it? So that's how the same logic already took place, played out in the 19th century. Do you know why? Because Nigeria became colonized towards the end of the 19th century. It was 1870 around that Nigeria became colonized by the English people. When did India become colonized? 1757 on. Lord Clive, Warren Hastings, and permanent settlement, all that have been going on. And it's not that Macaulay overnight clamped down English. English was already being sought by native people. Prince Daroganath was famous for his English tongue, and he was competing with the Nilpur people, the Sahibs, etc., indigo planters and other. So it's a long, elongated, what should I say, wavy rope. So Michael, being a pressure cooker, how could he not have? I'm arguing in favor of him. He is such a great poet with the poetic promise. But he is born at a wrong hour, at a wrong place, and writing to the wrong people. If you write in English, who are your addressees? The English people. How can you have ended your journey? You can end your journey at the longest, at the smartest, at the wildest as a Rai Bahadur. What is it? What is the sobriquet? English sobriquet for this insulting reference, Rai Bahadur? A Rai Bahadur means a native servant who is serving me. Macaulay says we shall impart Western education so that we will create an intermediate race from among the Indians who shall be our agents, marshalling up the other Indians, their own brethren, who shall think that they are English, but we will know that they are un-English, but we will smile at them, affecting to smile at them, so that they can become our coordinates. What is the actual name, sobriquet for this? Comprador. This is in our post-colonial discourse, in our, in the colonialist discourse, this is called comprador, the subordinate coordinate. These babus of the 19th and 20th century, they are the subordinate coordinates. Rajnarayan Bosu was already part of this subordinate coordinate, willy-nilly, knowingly, unknowingly. How grievous, how irrational on the part of the father must it have been. He had reasons. It is so, because it's so very easy to speak after 200 years that this was a bad decision. No, he was swimming with his tide. Rajnarayan became very wroth, very angry when Madhusudhon became Michael. It was a coming. It had to. Historical determinism said it will be so. If you find that you have greater merit, you have greater power, but you have no expression, you have received education, you feel like what they feel, this Michael Madhusudhon says, think in English, eat in English, dream in English. That was during his formative years. And he started writing poems. The distant shores of Albion, I'm very bad at, the Sittacisms, P-S-I-T-T-A. All the Anglophonic Indians were Sittacists. Kakatua ba tia paki jemon imitate kore setake Sittacism. So Madhusudhon was trying his art by playing the Sittacist. The distant shores of Albion, I have never seen them, their mountains must be very beautiful, etc. These are all second-hand kind of transactions done by the infection, the COVID germ of Byron, Milton, Wordsworth getting into the DNA of a Bengali son. Was he at fault? No, sir. It is a great, large affair. The huge subcontinent was being manipulated by a set of very well-trained, Pakka administrators, English people. How could this child, he is basically a poet. He has a poet's metal about him. So naturally, if you ask a lover to play the signaler of a railway crossing, the trains will definitely meet accidents. Because he's a lover. He will be writing love poems. So this is a wrong adjustment. Madhusudhon was given the wrong table and the wrong dinner set. He was writing poems and he was imagining blue eyes. Have you not read Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye? Who is having that dream? Let me have a pair of blue eyes. That girl. Right, Pecola Bridla. Have you noted? Pecola has a very murky kind of smacks of a bad suggestion. Peccavi, pec in Latin means sin, fault. Impeccable, meaning you cannot blame. So Pecola, to the audience, will suggest is a dirty, sin-infested kind of. She is an underling. How does she appear to be? A black lady, not yet a lady, 14-year-old. She is dreaming of blue eyes. Why? The Barbie dolls and the white girls, they hold blue eyes as precious and beautiful. Who is setting up the standard of beauty? The white man. And who is the whitest of the whites? Wasp. You know that wasp? White, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. WASP. The Britishers who come to India do not speak like, oh, she happens to be my secretary sitting at my office. This is, dialectal. Americans, the British don't speak that way. He will speak like your Baba. Well, she happens to be my secretary. You are welcome. Sit here. And at once you are treated like, oh my goodness, my 14 forefathers are so lucky. Who am I looking on at? Lord George, Noel, Gordon, Byron. And the lady is impregnated with the cultural archetypals of Helen, Eve. What kind of poetry does Michael write? Name of the poem? Visions of the Past. Who is the protagonist? Eve. And who is Adam? Adam is Michael himself. You look at the cobbled up kind of imagination, the way, because the author is always there. Directly or indirectly, and I'm not getting into the modern kind of way of the author is dead. No. The author's subconscious, at the Freudian level, the author's mishmashing of romanticism is very much to be found. Sometimes you smell the author in the text. Adam and Eve, a young man is writing. So the Adam is Michael, and the madam, Rebecca McTavish, met or still to be met. The moment he meets Rebecca Thompson McTavish, he falls a prey to the lady's beauty. Because Bangali Puti or Bangali any name will no longer be his targeted. It's not beautiful. What is beautiful? White, blue-eyed. This is the fever. This is the British imposed, as I said, COVID germ into the hapless native Indians who are halfway through. The cultural processing is ongoing. The baking is being done. It is not the end of the story. Michael will be dead. Rabindranath will come. He will also list poems of Whitman, poems of Wordsworth. But soon they will outgrow. Aurobindo and Aurobindo's Dada, Manmohan Ghosh, they were also lisping English, going to England, coming back, started vernacularizing. He started learning Bengali after coming back to Bangla. He forgot Bengali and he started learning Sanskrit. He started learning Farsi. The same story is being repeated. You bring the petty receipt, the individual history of Michael, and place it against the larger backdrop of how the Indians have been asphyxiated against the cultural pressures and newer techniques of hypocrisy by the British people. Lord Ripon, Lord Richard, very generous. Not like Macaulay, come and westernize yourself, otherwise you are gone. No, Lord Ripon, yes, I'm all for you. Come here, my dear. This is another facade. Politically seen, this is another facade. You see? And then 1930s, Swadeshi Andolan, we are all for you. We shall leave India. Come, have a talk. Why not have a talk? Why war? I need soldiers. First World War. 10 lakhs of Indian soldiers died. You see, this is the Paka, the mage, the Merlin, the black magic specialist. This black magic cannot be so easily busted. Michael busted it. When? So early. Michael dead. Even 80 years after Michael has been dead, the Indian people's craze for Anglomania has not ebbed. Has it ebbed today? Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe we are not going for British English, but we are going for American English. But English is very much. This is the inferiority complex driven, maniacal, stupid, colonial man's fate. So I am quickly going through the rehearsals of the formative rehearsals. I shall try to punch how Michael has been changing. Absolutely blind, bigoted Michael. I will go to Albion. I shall see the shores of England, which is my home. This is absolutely risible, R-I-S-I-B-L-E, laughable. But he is playing those. Then what does he say? Say, I have written a poem to myself. 1843, 9th February, isn't it? He goes to Old Mission Church. I'm a Christian, how? I'll become a Christian. And he becomes a Christian, but the poet is there. Even when, a bus conductor, he goes on writing poems. So even with regard to his own marriage, own conversion, he is so very romantic. I have written a poem. What is that poem? Getting past a long superstitious night, I am being led to light as the blind is led to God, etc., etc. I do not exactly remember the lines. But he is singing, how happy, how liberated I am. This is the delirium which thinks he is being liberated. Actually, he is being levered. Then he goes away because he will not marry into his own Indian kind of roots. Baba is so, this is, the Baba-son generation gap. The generation gap has been ironically schizophrenized by English education, which Baba himself has offered for him. And after taking up English education, he says, Baba, you are an old fool, Dad. I will not marry into my caste. I shall not be guilty of endogamy. These are the two Western cliches. The Western Christian people, they marry even their own uncle's daughter. That is not endogamy. But if you marry into your caste, that is endogamy. Who has told? Delosius fools. That's it. It is how Papunno are being relativized. You are picking up your master's chalk and dust and writing. Then he writes, the Anglo-Saxon and the Hindus. In the Anglo-Saxon and the Hindus, these are English poetry. He extols everything that is English and he denigrates everything that is Hindu. Do you know which books he is using for reference? Macaulay's suggested books, where the India hatred and Indians are all mongrels, such kind of denigratory comments are made. He is using those source books for his chapbook, like a chaplain uses a chapbook. he is using for his chapbook all those books which are saying poo-poo to everything that is Indian. He writes a very bland kind of an imitative phase is going on, synthesis phase is going on. But he is enumerating the Hindu practices. You know, at the subconscious level, it shows that although he is writing and extolling everything that is Western, he is keeping tidings of the Indian things. He has not stopped knowing them. He is going on perusing. So somewhere at the back of his mind, there is a kind of seesaw hesitancy about, are the Western people all correct in suggesting all these things? He marries into an Anglo-Indian family, an orphan, Rebecca. Goes on for 8 years. I don't know what happened. They had 4 children. Michael is a pressure cooker. I hope that expresses everything. He does not go stick to anything for long until and unless he has been found his own throne of glory. This happens with geniuses. Geniuses sometimes go eccentric, off the center, because what they dream, what they propose to themselves, the clairvoyances they have, the dreams they have, aren't met with immediately, but he has to be harried over the coals or hauled over the coals to get to see what the reality is for. So Michael, for want of experience, was actually making honeymoon with an intellectual, emotional, cultural void. He was trying to become himself. And he wrote so many things. The Captive Lady, for example, he has already pointed out. In the Captive Lady, there is a volta. Captive Lady is very important because the Captive Lady is written in English, 1849, as you said. Michael is already Michael because when he married, he became a Michael. It is not a voluntary Michaeling. In order to ride the cycle, he became Michael. You see, Michael is actually a lover. Blue eyes, white, and expecting emotional feedback. Something went wrong somewhere. Because color and blue eyes are the egg. At the end of the day, I don't know, we do not remember at our marriage how beautiful my wife had been or no. My wife is very beautiful, otherwise I won't serve my meal. My dear, who is the most beautiful woman on earth? Before marriage, my mother. After marriage, somebody who is other. Here also, Michael was honeymooning with the other. Rebecca is the metaphor for everything that is English. I will be accepted as an Englishman. I want to be at par with an Englishman. You look at the Freudian subconscious. Can a Rajar Beta for long go on serving a plate to the masters? No. Michael was a little prince at Shagordari. And his biographers, you read that play type of text by the Madhusudhon and Nomita Gokhale, where there is a reference to an incident, as I heard, that Michael, when somebody begged before him, Baba khete paini or something, I'm dukhi, Michael gave away his all. Everything that he had with him. This is a prodigal child, but this is the typical reflexologically determined, predetermined behavior of a prince, Rajar Beta. This Rajar Beta was being looked down upon, suffered into a pale, secondary, redundant existence by the Sahibs. Do you think he can long go on with it? Out with your Englishism, Anglicism. I will not do with it. This is happening, my dear, in Madras. He had to live in the Black Town. Live. The captive lady is the answer. During the Black Town stay, he is writing Anglo-Saxons and the Hindus, where he is saying the Hindus are culturally not, etc. But his voice has become fainter. The next poem, Joy Chandra, Joy Chand, Prithviraj, and Samyukta has been given another name, Baisa or something like that. Where it is a volta. Volta, you know, Gure Jawa, revolt. In a sonnet, octave to sestet, if there is a kind of switch around, that's called a volta. Here is a volta in the innings of Madhusudhon. Now he is going for sixes and fours. He is writing in English, but he was writing at the English. He was not writing for the English and to the English. He was digging at them. Our culture, straight kings, lovers, romantic people, they were so happy. Just because they didn't have union amongst themselves, they lost out to the outsider. This is a metaphor, veiled dig, like Bankim Chandra's Anandamor, where he uses a sultan. But sultan is not it. He cannot write straight away the English people because his book will be proscribed. He will be put into jail. But he writes, this is Anandamor is a veiled dig at the British people. Similarly, here also, Michael is writing, but he is Madhusudhanizing. Madhusudhan is the Indian being, the good old man that is, that ontological spark. For example, what would be the best language to address the person you want to marry? If she is willing, God bless, you will marry. How would you tell her, I love you? Or, ich liebe zu. In German. Huh? এটা বলবো আমি বলবো আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি isn't it? Will an Englishman ever speak in Bengali আমি তোমাকে ভালোবাসি? He must have been play acting. My dear, don't marry him. আমার বোনকে বিয়ে করার জন্য একটা আমেরিকান এসেছিল, American Italian. Come on. And he becomes a Buddhist. And he becomes a Shakahari. And he wants to become a Hindu. I told my sister, look, take care, bhagja, don't. Here is a beautiful looking David. And my sister became very angry with me. Dala, you are ruining my career, etc. No, this is not a career. This is a job career. Beware. So, that's how it was. So that's a seminal point of break. From now on, we shall see that the language may be English, but Michael's spirit and soul is less and less weighted. The captive lady shows how the prowess, how the valor of the Indian heroes were supreme. But how the kings, because of their mutual, short-sighted, small instincts, they undid themselves. This is a silent message to the Indian people. The first nationalistic kind of a textation ever done in poetry by an Indian in recent times. It's a patriotic poem, as you said. It's a patriotic poem. Then what does he write? He writes, after Madras, he comes away and as he has pointed out, beaten, আমরা বাংলায় বেথুন বলি, beaten and Baisak, meaning Basak. They said, you have written captive lady, but you yourself remain captive by your own language. Write in the language that your nation awaits you from. You are a great poet, but do not gargle out somebody else's language. Write in your own language. Act is a very, very darling kind of a suggestion given by these two real friends. They were real well-wishers of Madhusudhon. And Madhusudhon watched a cantankerously, boldly stupid kind of a drama, if it is drama at all. Everything was there except drama. What was that? A Bengali misrendering of Harshavardhan's Sanskrit play, Ratnavali. And it was Ramnarayan Torparatna who was a good writer. He's not as bad as Michael was, taking him for. He also wrote many good things. Kulinkulo Sarvaswa is a famous facetious satire, Prahaswan. So, and in spite of everything that might be said, Michael is indebted to his predecessors. But Michael is watching at Belgachia Theatre, Ratnavali. And Ratnavali had everything in the play except play. It was Sanskrit slokas rendered into unintelligible Bengali. আমি যদি এরকম বাংলা বলি, আপনার সমীপে আসিয়া আমি আমার মিত্রগণ শহীদগণের সমবিব্যাহারে আপনার প্রাদ প্রক্ষালন করিতে থাকিলাম, মাই ডিয়ার, জল খাবো, পানি খাবো, isn't it? That was how Ratnavali was written. And Michael was furious. Oh my goodness. Ori kunattorange mojeloke rare bambe nirokhya praninash. This is the bells, the alarm bells tinkling. I have much to do here. And then he writes Shormishta, where blank verse also comes in. But then the great poem Tilottama Sambhav, entirely in blank verse. Have you noted how theme and form are going hand in hand, husband and wife? What is Poyar Chanda? Kashiram Das Kahe Sune Punnavan, Mahabharater Katha Amrita Saman, Mahabharater Katha. How many akshars? 8. Mahabharater Katha Amrita Samana 6. Kashi Rama Dasha Kahe Shune Punnavana 86. Chaturdashpadi is there. It will be absolutely wrong to say Michael absolutely defied everything. No. Michael refined, redefined, and reified. R-E-I-F-I-E-D. Reification মানে হচ্ছে মূর্তিকে নতুন করে পুনর্মূর্তি করা। তাকে reification. Michael is doing an artisan's job. ডাকের সাজের প্রতিমা থেকে কলকাতার নতুন মডার্ন দুর্গাপুজোর যে মূর্তি হয়, মাই গুডনেস, কি মডার্ন রে ভাই। That's Michael. That's Michael. Michael is contemporizing, which is very important. Contemporizing. যে সময়ে যে চলো. So Michael is taking off the clips, gem clips, and the pins taking off. Antamil, end rhymes. Mahabharater Katha Amrita Samano, Kashiram Dasha Kahe Shune Punnavana off. কি বললেন? যেও না রজনী আজি রয়ে তারা দলে, তুমি গেলে দিনময়ী এ পরানো যাবে, দলে আর যাবে, don't rhyme. You see, but the Chaturdashpadi, that 14 letter kind of 14 syllable, every Bengali letter is practically consonant. Yes, vowel consonants both are a syllable. What is a syllable? একসঙ্গে একটা single প্রক্রিয়ায় যতটা উচ্চারণ করা যায়। One unbroken arc of pronunciation. র। ইংরেজি লিখতে গেলে R-A-W র লিখবে। আমরা একটা অক্ষর দিয়ে বুঝিয়ে দিই। So we are syllabic. So Madhusudhon is thinking his way through. He is producing not iambic pentameter as in the sonnet. He is reproducing Chaturdashpadi in the sonnet. So these are the due facelifts and cosmetizings which only a knowing a sapient cognoscenti can do. An idiot or a dolt can never do. It is Ishwar Chandra Gupta. Dekhite kamala kala, pet kare khai khai. This is very, it's not vulgar, but this is very trite. And what were the prevalent traditions of poetry? Pobigan. Isn't it? Pobial del Lorai. The local, singing bards and the minstrels, their level of poetry and their lyrics were definitely very mundane. Madhusudhon is polishing them up. Not only the theme is magnificent and noble, Sharmishtha. Sharmishtha is using Indian mythology. Why? You will say, sir, Michael has been very much influenced by Milton. Yes. Michael knew Greek. Yes. He was very much intelligent of, for example, Homer. He read the two epics, Iliad and Odyssey, in original Greek. He wrote an Italian sonnet in original Italian and presented it to the king of Italy, Emmanuel II. And he was honored because of that. My goodness, writing a sonnet in Italian, and Virgil wrote, and then Rosa wrote, for example, Johannes II wrote, for example. These are very medieval Latin, low Latin, late Latin, Vivamus mea lesbiae, Artiamenus soles occidit redire possum, and nobiscum semel, noctest una perpetua dormienda, night is one perpetual dormitory. That's it, early Italian, medieval Italian. And for example, yes, all these virtuosities, the virtuoso, were not lacking in Michael. Michael was writing real good sonnets in English too. But microphone is afraid of me. Look at it.
Hello.
Dhanyavad. Dhanyavadina saidam grihitam. Okay. Homer, thank you. Homer is using ancient Greek mythology. Right? Ancient Greek mythologies have many strands. Pre-Orphean streak of mythology, ancient Olympian streak of mythology, and then the Greco-Roman streak of mythology. The Homer was actually using two ancient strands, pre-Orphean streak of mythology, Orpheus and Eurydice and all that, very ancient, and then the Olympian mythology, where the references were not only myths but legends as well came into kind of operation. For example, Menelaus and Pauri and Paris, that is Helen, and that the contest between the two goddesses, Venus and I think Juno. The Greek name is Hera. The Greek name is Hera, Roman name is Juno. They were playing off, and Paris chose Venus, Aphrodite, Pallas Aphrodite. That is the Greek name for Venus. So, Athena. Pallas Athena, and it is Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the love goddess. Goddess of love. Love meaning lust in that sense. Because Ovid in his Metamorphoses, SIS, singular, SES plural. Ovid in his Metamorphoses has been showing the carnal desires distorting the actions of people. So in the ancient days, the love as a fashionable evening tour was not exactly there. It was lust more than love. The French people have discovered love. An evening in Paris. So Homer is depending on the Greek mythological store inventory. Milton is depending on the Christian mythological store. Tasso was depending on the Roman mythological store. And Michael also read Tasso. What is Michael doing here? What was he doing in Anglo-Saxon and the Hindus? In the Anglo-Saxon and in the Hindus, he was using the Adamic parable, the Adamic paradigm, Adam and Eve. Kade. What is officially the status of Madhusudhon? Christian. Michael Madhusudhon. What is the theme he is choosing? Sharmishtha. Which mythology? Ancient Indian mythology. Tanti. That's it. I will not waste more time on Sharmishtha. Blank verse is very much there. What is the theme? What is the theme of Ramayana by Krittivasa? What is the theme of Kashiram Dasa by, Kashiram Das, Mahabharata? What is the theme of the Vaishnava love poets? Yadi Hari Smarane Sarasang Mano, Yadi Vilasa Kalasa Kutuhalam, Sinutada Jayadeva Saraswatim. Which love? Divine love. Radha Krishna. Which love is Michael treating? Mortal love. Mortal love. Falstaff says, touch him, mortal men. Mortal men. That's the study. It is from Shakespeare. He has imbibed. Michael has imbibed the best cream of the Renaissance. Humanism. Man is of utmost interest. Man is the supreme, the important thing, not God, the supreme deity. He is there. We respect him or her or it. But our topic is going to be man. And man and woman. Adam and Eve, the Indian equivalent to Adam and Eve, Prithviraj and Samyukta. Then comes Meghnad Bodh. I am brushing off all other things. Krishna Kumari, the tragic tale. Once again, woman, the gritty, tragically brave lady who to save her father commits suicide. Do you know how many thorny issues Michael has put up? Woman in a patriarchal androcentric society is becoming a victim to men's androlust, male-bound lust. Two Rajasthani kings, they are contesting, both are wanting to have the lady. And her father, the king, another king, is powerless because he's smaller. The lady commits suicide. Who is the protagonist? A woman. The woman question is coming up. The next is Birangana Kabbo, the Birangana poetry, like Ovid's Heroides. The epistles, they are writing letters to their husbands in categorizations. Obhijog, for example, Kaikeyi to Dasharath, Jonah, right, and Prem Patro, Tara to Chandra, so, etc. These are many types, but it is the heartbeats, the missing heartbeats, the trajectories of psyches of women and how they are being deprived, how they are being Allah, for example. How they are being deprived, how they are being maltreated, how they are not meeting with their dues. My dear, what is the most fashionable uptake nowadays? Even I find male adhyapaks, professors, and there is a scholar coming in, male or female, never mind. Feminism, sir. I say feminism niye kaaj ko. Feminism, the roots are there for the first time. The chords are struck by Michael. The epistolary form taken from Ovid. And the letters, yes, the Ovidian, there also, the heroines were addressing their male partners. But the crooked misjudgments, mistreatments, the the misalignments, the mesalliances, they're all coming up because Michael is acutely aware of the male-female imbalance in our human life. There is no reference to divinity. Sir, ye apni ki bolchen? Yes. Brajangana Kabbo. Brajangana Kabbo, sir. This is Radha and Krishna. No. Krishna is a lover. And Radha is expressing as a beloved her desire, her anxieties, her unmet desires for a male lover. There is no God. Is it not modernizing? Is it not contemporizing? Is it not blank versing? Then Meghnad Bodh is definitely making the superstitious paradigming of play moral, be moral, always uphold the patriarchal idol who has been made into who has been apotheosized. Rama is God. Everything about him is good. Ravana is bad. Asura, Danava, Rakshasa. Michael knows that Rakshasa doesn't mean a demon. Rakshasa as a word comes from Raksha, one who protects. And there is this intellectual play. Ravan is the protector. My Lanka, my people. And Ravan is shown as a true Gurgian patriot of his country. It's also a veiled dig at the English people. And Rama is the invader. Can you see? Rama is the invader. The English people should be very happy. Isn't it? And the textation shows how the trickery is played by the outsider, Lakshmana, etc. And how Bibhishana is made in the image of Mirzafar. This Mirzafarizing, yes. You can see very much. Siraj is very much like Ravana. Yes. Embroiled. Absolutely. And it is not the outside force that's putting me down. It's my own brother, my own damad, or my own brother-in-law who is putting me down. This is absolutely entrenched. His feet are solidly entrenched in the ground. He does not fantasize. And naturally, the hero of the Kavya Meghnad Bodh Kavya, who is the hero? Ravana, not Meghnad. You see, Ravana is the prime, democratic, loving, Gurgian-like, revolutionary solid who remains like an atlas in the midst of all-round wind. Very much a better sampling than the father of Hector, the father of Paris. What's his name? I'm forgetting. Priam. Priam is not as strong. When Hecuba cries, Priam also is very old, groggy, and sometimes going out. He doesn't fight. But Ravana fights. Hector dies. Priam is gone. Birbahu dies. Ravana puts up Indrajit. Indrajit dies. Ravana himself comes out. Yes. This is absolutely teaching the Indians, my dear, come up and save your Lanka. Unless you come of age, unless you become like Ravanas, you cannot. This is a hidden agenda, post-colonial agenda. It's not just hating everything that is Indian. He is revigorizing, reinvigorating, reinventing the text in accordance with the time. Naturally, the objective correlative is prowess, adrenaline, and the unbending, unshaken resolve. These are the stylistic objective correlative. And blank verse stands equal to that agenda. Okay, there are Chaturdash Padi Kavita which are directly vernacularizing agenda, nativizing agenda, native culturization agenda. Absolutely, as he has pointed out, I sitting in France, oh my Kaputakkhorida river, no Kaputakkhonoth, where are you? I'm crying for you. It's about the same time when Toru Dutt is also in France and crying for our own land, our casuar in a tree, for example. And yes, so many points. This is the time when there is patriotism in the air and reconfiguration is taking place. Metamorphosis. I have willingly taken it from Ovid. Okay? Meta meaning change, morph meaning shape. Metamorphosis. অর্থাৎ শেপের পরিবর্তন. So it is homecoming, ঘরে ফেরা. Michael writes so many sonnets. কোনটা বলবো না. হ্যাঁ? He is now writing about মেনকা, যেও না রজনী তুমি লয়ে তারা হলে, অথবা আশার ছলনে ভুলি কি ফল লবিনু হয়, ধন্য আশা কুহকিনী তোমার মায়ায় মুগ্ধ মানবের মন, and then বঙ্গভূমির প্রতি, isn't it? কি যেন প্রথম লাইনটা ছিল? রেখমা দাসের মনে এ মিনতি করি পদে, হ্যাঁ, প্রবাসে দৈবরে বসে জীবতারা যদি খসে খেদ নাহি দায়ে, এ দেহ প্রবাসে দৈবরে বসে জীবতারা যদি খসে এ দেহ আকাশ হতে নাহি খেদ তাহে, কিন্তু যদি রাখো মনে এতে, এটসেট্রা এটসেট্রা এটসেট্রা. These are all clarion calls for Ma, I have done a wrong thing. I have seceded from you. I understood not what I did. Let me come back. And দত্তকুলো মহিপদে নিদ্রাবৃত দত্তকুলো মধুসূদন, দাঁড়াও পথিক বর, জন্ম যদি তব বঙ্গকুলে. He never says, oh the shores of Albion, oh great England. No. Clear gems of expressions. As lucid, they are not unduly burdened or terrorized by unintelligible syntactic disasters. Isn't it? They are absolutely, যেটা বলা হলো না, the farces, একেই কি বলে সভ্যতা, বুড়ো শালিকের ঘাড়ে রোঁ. These are patriot Madhusudhon, who is whiplashing his own countrymen back into conscience. অলিক পুনাট্য রঙ্গে মজে লোকের হারে বঙ্গে, and অলিক পুনাট্য রঙ্গে মজে সাধারণ বাঙালি. They are doing all kinds of immoral activities. So away with them. Let there be a new Bengal, new India, new culture. And definitely this precedes the whole series of writings. Vande Mataram and other Deshopremizations are going on. But this is it. Okay. Thank you. I have done.
Thank you so much, sir. We were spellbound. I think our chief discussant, Dr. Chidananda Bhattacharya, knows some black magic. Otherwise, it would not be possible to keep the audience in such a state.